God darn it, bald is beautiful. Now listen up so you can be just as beautiful as me. Hopefully more so, actually.
Shave it up!
Hey everybody, Clean Shaver here, and it is Friday again, and I have been getting a lot of questions lately about tips and tricks that I use to get an effective and thorough shave on my head. Now, I'm going to go through my shave process here, and I'll just kind of give you some tips and just line them up for you as I go. But I think this is going to be hopefully very helpful to everybody. Now, I have done a couple other videos about head shaving gear and the process that I go through to shave my head. I'll put those at the end. You'll see them in the sidebar here. But for right now, let's just talk about tips and tricks that you can use as you go through your shave to get a better experience when you're shaving your head. All right, so first and foremost, I would recommend that the most important tip that I can give you for shaving your head is proper preparation. Now, my preparation is going to be a little bit different than most people, but it's mine, so my video, my tips. I recommend showering before you shave your head. Now, if you aren't able to shower, like the time just doesn't permit it, then at least take a few minutes to wash your face and your head with a nice moisturizing soap. I'm not going to get into what soaps you should use, but there are plenty of soaps out there that can do it. Make sure that your skin is nice and clean and well hydrated. And if you want to, as a prep step, you can also add just a little bit of lubrication in the form of a lotion or a balm. I sometimes will use a whipped shea butter just to kind of rub it on my head and just kind of smooth things out. I'll especially do that if I have had a couple of bad shaves before, or it's been a little while since I've been doing it, or since I've shaved my head, or if I'm just feeling particularly dry. It just helps to add a little bit more moisture and make it so it's a nice smooth glide for the razor. Now the next step, or the next tip that I'll give you, is that I recommend shaving with a double-edged razor. A double-edged razor like this uses the old disposable blades. A single blade is the key here. You can use an old single-edge razor. You can even use some of the disposable Bic, Gillette type things as long as it only has one blade. Now the reason I say that is when you use multiple blades, the process of dragging multiple blades across your skin, those cartridges are designed in such a way that the first blade pulls the hair out, the second blade pulls the hair out even further, and third and fourth, and however many progressive blades you have, pulls the hair out further and further. And then the last blade finally cuts it off. Now that sounds all well and good, except that when you do that, it cuts the hair off so that it's actually shorter and it sinks back into the pore of your skin. When it does that, that's just asking for razor bumps and for irritation, which is especially a big problem for most people along the nape of their neck because it's a particularly oily area back there. At least it is for me. So that's one thing I would advise as well, is make sure that you're using a double edge or a single edge razor. Not a double blade cartridge, but a single blade at a time. Next thing that I would advise is that you use a nice, nourishing shaving cream or soap. I generally use a soap and a brush. That's my method of doing it, but you can use brushless creams. I know Cremo Cream works very well for most people. Clubman makes a good shaving cream. I don't recommend the canned goo or the shave gels. Those generally have ingredients in them that will dry out your skin and make it a much more harsh experience for your head. Now I'm going to take my glasses off here, and I'm going to get into the shave, and I'll kind of walk you through some tips as I go. Now you can see that I spend some time building up the lather, and to me that time is worth it because it's providing protection for your scalp. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? And so the more time you spend building out lather, granted you can overbuild it, so to speak, but you generally won't regret taking an extra 30 to 60 seconds building your lather, making it as comfortable as possible. Something I do recommend, actually, make sure that you get good at reaching all the spots on the back of your head. Sometimes I'll forget the spot up here, and it's kind of annoying. But make sure that you remember all the spots. And when you get to the end, you might notice, at least if you're like me, that the lather up here seems to be a little bit thinner than the lather on the sides, and that's because I don't have much stubble up on the top. So generally what I'll do is I'll make sure that I have a nice rich lather on the sides, and then I will wring out the brush just gently. Don't mess with the bristles too much. I'll wring out the brush and take that extra lather and just use my fingers to spread that out on top. Just give myself some nice cushion there. See, that's much better, much thicker. Granted, the lighting isn't great, so you may not be able to see that very well, but there. Much thicker, much creamier than it was before. Now, when it actually comes to shaving your head, here's my thing. Learn what direction the hair on your head grows. For me, generally, from the sides around below the crown of my head, it grows down. With the exception of right here, it grows that way. So I've learned that, and I've learned that I can actually go against the grain or against the growth with shaving my head. You don't always necessarily need to do that though. Generally when you're shaving your head, at least what my advice would be, is to go for one pass, that's it. Don't try to go with multiple passes because then your head skin is very sensitive when you're shaving it. And so unless you're really experienced, it can be a little harsh on it to shave it more than once. So I have learned that I can actually go against the growth without any problems because I've practiced. But if you're just starting out, I recommend going with the growth. So in that case, for me, it would be down. I'm gonna go ahead and go up this time because I know how to do it, okay? One really nice thing about shaving your head is that it's right on your skull. You can hear it really, really well, especially right here by your ear. So you get a feel for when the blade is actually making contact. You can probably hear that. You get a really good feel for when the blade is actually making contact and when it's not. See, right now, I can hear it's not making contact. There we go. I made a lot more contact that time. So you get a feel for that. Now, as I mentioned, I know that the hair back here grows that way, but I generally don't worry about it and I don't shoot for a baby butt smooth shave on my head because I know generally it's not really worth the effort. I just go for ease and I don't worry about shaving in multiple directions. It just makes it easier for me, okay? So another thing that you'll learn to do is you'll learn to get a feel for the shape of your head. I know that I have this little spot in the back right here where the bone sticks out a little bit, and so I take some time and go slowly around that area to make sure that I don't cut myself, okay? Now if you're using a disposable razor like this, it's only got one blade. Like I said, don't you dare use a cartridge. Just kidding. This applies if you are using a cartridge even. Take your time and don't apply pressure. Because when you apply pressure, that's when you're going to get razor burn. And that sucks on your head. Plus it looks really weird, right? You can kind of cover it up when it's on your face and on your neck, but when it's on your head, you can't cover that up unless you wear a hat. And I don't work in a place I can wear a hat to work, so I don't want to mess that up. And also, make sure that you take your time. See, I'm going rather quickly because A, this is a video and I don't want to have it last forever, but B, I've also practiced. And so make sure that you're taking your time. Don't go faster than you're comfortable. It might help sometimes to stretch your skin a little bit. We give this advice to straight razor shavers particularly, but if you grab your cheek or where your sideburn is, you can pull it down just ever so slightly and help keep the skin taut. It helps to keep the hair shaving correctly. All right, now for the dome of the head. This can get a little bit tricky for some people. I generally go front to back, but you can draw a line, an imaginary line down the middle of your head and go side to side if you're more comfortable with that, or you can go front to back. It doesn't really matter. It probably matters more about the way your hair grows. If you still have hair up there, then figure out which way the hair grows and work with it. But for me, generally, I just go straight down the middle. Now, I will start with the middle because I like to take my time, especially on that very curved part of my head where it is most curved, at least for me. I take my time and go along that line. If by chance you do cut yourself, which is going to happen if you're just learning how to shave your head, especially with a double edge razor or a single edge or a straight razor, you're going to cut yourself. So in that case, keep a STYPTIC pencil handy. This will be your best friend. It stings like a mother when you first get it, but this stops the bleeding, and head wounds bleed like crazy. I don't know why that is. If somebody can explain to me why that is, put it down in the comments. Now, some of you might be asking, why didn't you use a mirror to shave the back of your head? Just do the double mirror thing. First, I'm not that coordinated. And second, it requires two hands. I don't want to do that. And I just learned to go with feel. And I think that's going to be much faster and much more efficient for you, especially if you can just learn to do it by feel. You won't have to bother with it. You just go, and it's a heck of a lot faster, a lot easier. Plus, it's less stuff that you have to have. Now, the post shave. Generally, you just kind of get a feel for it, but I like to use a post shave balm that will help to rehydrate the skin, especially where I particularly have dry skin. It's winter, it's a drier time of year, so I like to use a post shave balm like Soap Commander, or there are any number of good companies out there that make a good aftershave balm. I like to put that on my head. Sometimes I'll do an aftershave splash on my head, not always. It just kind of depends on how I'm feeling. But that's how I do it. Make sure that you rinse it off really well. Try not to get soap in your eyes, and just enjoy it. It's really not terribly hard. It just takes practice, and hopefully before long, you'll be able to shave your head with the best of them. And you'll look great doing it. Okay, everybody, I think that's it. I think that I've covered all the points that I wanted to cover. If you have any questions for me about tips that you think I might have missed for shaving your head, put them down in the comment section down below. Love to hear from you. And also don't forget to hit the subscribe button and that little bell icon to make sure you get reminded every time I post a new video, which is generally Friday mornings. I look forward to any of your questions, and I'm very happy to help. If you would like to ask me directly or privately, go ahead and you can reach me at my email address, thecleanshaver@gmail.com. You can also reach me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/thecleanshaver. All those links are down in the description down below, and you can find me there. So don't forget to check out these 2 videos that will show you my favorite head shaving gear and my process of shaving my head. And be smooth and shave it up, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.